back to the show called The Alternate View. मैं हूं आपका साथी, आपका होस्ट, आपका क्रिकेट फैन, क्रिकेट पत्रकार जेमी ऑल्टर। वंस अगेन स्वागत है आपका। अगर आप दोबारा हमारे साथ यहाँ जुड़े, अगर पहली बार इस स्ट्रीम पे आए हो कहीं से गिर पटक के, तो स्वागत है आपका। एज यूजुअल वी टॉकिंग इंडियन क्रिकेट। आज एक बहुत बहुत बड़ा मैच होने वाला है, सेकंड T20I बिटवीन इंडिया एंड वेस्ट इंडीज। बहुत सारे इसके आजू बाजू भी बहुत चर्चे हैं और अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स टू टॉक अबाउट। एंड जॉइनिंग मी नाउ ऑन आवर लॉक स्क्रीन फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम इज जर्नलिस्ट मयंक कुमार, and I'm going to bring him on the screen. तो जोरदार से स्वागत करिए, as you lovely people always do with your likes and comments, and we'll get this discussion now. I hear something, and I think we got Mayank. Yes, we do. Hi, Mayank.
Hi, Jamie. How are you?
थोड़ा अपने आप को ऐसा करना पड़ेगा. You'll have to flip the rotation.
So,
You can hear me?
this works
Perfect,
fine.
perfect, perfect. Perfect, my friend, perfect.
Yeah. Am I?
How's your day been so far, Mayank?
It's been good, Jamie. Waiting for the second ODI. Have some questions in mind. Maybe Rohit Sharma and company will answer those.
Or maybe not. Ajkal, you never quite know what's going on these days in Indian cricket. Mayank, welcome to the show for the first time. Like I told you before we went live, it's a very informal chat show. Huh, thoda structure is question and answer, but just see it like two cricket fans, two cricket nuts just shooting the breeze and talking things. So we have some viewers here. उनके सवाल लेंगे. We'll put up some polls. To get going, सबसे पहली बात, I think every Indian cricket fan has, obviously we all have views, but if there's one thing going around which everyone has a view on, either for or against, is this whole rest debate. Is it rest? Is it recovery? Is it rotation? ये RRR, ये है क्या? तो what is your view? Like रोहित शर्मा अभी तो आए थे, अभी रेस्ट है. हार्दिक पांड्या अभी तो आए थे, अभी रेस्ट है. विराट कोहली again rested. How do you, like, as a cricket watcher, how do you see all this?
See, Jamie, this is rest, of course, and you can say कि अभी they just came back and now again they're going back on rest. But what the BCCI's argument is, and I believe that is a very fair argument because you know how last 2 years have been that they have been in lockdown and they have been in under quarantine and those have been very strict quarantine. So remember, once they get off the plane to go to the Asia Cup, then they are not coming back, and then it is long road ahead for them towards the T20 World Cup. So that is justified in a way. However, there are some concerns regarding because let's say Kohli's example or let's say KL Rahul's example. He has been away. Rahul especially has been away for a very long time, and these are touch players. These are the batsmen who bat, who bat in the power play. And remember what happened to us in the last T20 World Cup. So we were done in the power play only. Against Pakistan, we were done inside 3 overs. Against New Zealand, we were done inside say first 6 overs. So these players, these Kohlis and these KL Rahuls, they need bat on the ball. They need the feel of the game. They need to have tempo going, the blood pumping in their body so that their body gets moving. So for
Yep.
that, I'm a bit concerned that it's happening a way too much for my liking, especially in the case of Kohli. But that the BCCI's argument is also fine, and it's a very fine line. You can't clearly criticize the team management for going the other way that you don't believe in.
Yeah, fair enough. I see your point, and the BCCI, as much as we've all seen the BCCI on the best of days, their let's say their lack of clarity or clarification is often wanting. Before we go on, a lot of comments are saying, a lot of familiar viewers, Vartika's back saying, how are you? We're very fine, thank you. Shweta saying, very nice, full of entertainment. I'm enjoying our live. Yes, we try to keep you entertained. So Mayank, you and I have talked about the RRR, the rest, the rotation, the recovery. In the case of literally Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, and KL Rahul. Let's start
Yeah.
with with Rohit Sharma. Earlier this year, Rohit Sharma was appointed captain across three formats.
Right.
Understandable. Virat Kohli had just literally stepped down, I think, a day after a test defeat. All that happened with him, and we've done shows on this. BCCI, Saurav Ganguly, lack of clarification. When 90 minute pehle he was told that you're being removed as ODI captain. We see where it happens. You can imagine, our fans can imagine, that whenever the think tank sat around and said, "Yaar, agla kaptan kaun?" The answer was right there in front of him because it's Rohit Sharma we're talking about. He's been a fantastic white ball player, but over the last I'd say 2.5 years, he's finally, like all of us wanted him to, he's held down his place as a test player, and he's been so instrumental to India's success home and away as a test batsman. Leadership का role तो है उनके पास. He's captained Mumbai Indians to 5 IPL titles, so he was the obvious choice. लेकिन, and again, this is something which you can feel free to argue against me. He was going on 35. Now he's 35. He's injury prone, right? When I look
Right.
at the stats here, यहाँ पे मैं stats बताऊंगा. He's been rested almost as much as he's played in 2022, right? You're saying, and I get your point. I also see it to some point, but it's a World Cup year, right? And
Right.
exactly, I'm so glad you brought to our viewers' attention. कि मेरा ये मानना है कि बहुत सारे लोग का memory बहुत short term है. What happened 10 months ago in the World Cup? That was our World Cup to win. Gharelu World Cup tha because it was shifted. We had no excuse not to reach the finals. But Pakistan, New Zealand, as you said, we blew away. I'm not for so much rotation because this is a World Cup year. And how important is Rohit Sharma? तो क्या चल रहा है यार इसमें? I'm not so sure about this.
Well, Jami, you're absolutely right, and even I don't agree to this point. And that World Cup point is the most pertinent point, because had it not been
Exactly.
for the World Cup, you can rotate and rest and rotate, and also give provisional rest to players, that okay, you stand by. If some players are injuring, then you can come back. But because this is a World Cup, you need, because see the Indian team of now, the T20 team. There are many moving parts, so there are too many options for one slot. So there are four options for opening, two option or three option for the number three. There is players like Deepak Huda, Surya Kumar Yadav, who have done well alongside
Yep,
Virat
yep,
Kohli, who
yep.
has proven pedigree. So how will you fix that all those moving parts are a fixed component of your vehicle? Remember, it's a very important that you have to make a good team. So you need to have a role clarity. Remember what the MS Dhoni's team in 2011 World Cup had. It had role clarity because MS Dhoni had specifically told everyone that what is your role. Remember how Ashwin played ahead of
Yep, yep.
Ashish Nehra against Australia, because that was his role. So if you have too many moving parts in your side, you won't have role clarity in your players, and that is very detrimental towards your good. Because remember last World Cup as well, what happened? The first game we failed. The next game, Ishan Kishan opened. Why? If Rohit Sharma can't bat against the new ball, the Rohit Sharma with the pedigree of so many hundreds and having done so,
Exactly.
over a decade, Ishan Kishan won't be able to bat it, right? So there are too many moving parts, and I fear if we are rotating and asking players to rest so many times, you are taking the same risk that there are too many moving parts. But again, as I said last time, and in reply to your last question, there is again a silver lining, that as I'm saying, that the 8th August is the last date to announce the squad for the Asia Cup. And I believe,
Right.
and many reports are suggesting that whatever the squad will be picked for the Asia Cup, they will be the same squad for the World Cup as well. So give some 4 5 games in Asia Cup, and then some 3 game against South Africa and 3 games against Australia. So we have some 10 games on our hands with our fixed 11, that will walk down at the Melbourne Cricket Ground against that game against Pakistan on 23rd October. So
Pakistan.
before that, we have a fixed team playing 6 to 7 games to understand that what is who is more suitable to that side and who is not. Otherwise we won't be able to find, we will doing this navel gazing that we are doing now, that we are, once we are asking Pant to bat, the another on the another day we are asking Surya Kumar Yadav to bat. So this is not solving a problem, but this is you're trying to create problems for solutions. You're not trying to create solution for problems. But there is another silver lining, and like I would trust Rahul Dravid's method as of now.
Hmm. Hmm. Very well said. You touched upon several topics about which we'll discuss. But just going back, and I like the fact that you raised the 2011 World Cup wali baat. Pragyan Oja was on the show last week, and he said, Jamie, you know something? I know how it was built. I was there when the build-up happened. He said MS Dhoni wanted every player to have 35 to 40 matches before the World Cup. मतलब 12-15 महीने पहले.
Right.
Of course,
Right.
here it's T20. That's a lot in T20. You've just said 10, but is 10 actually going to be enough? Because on this show we've had many guests, and I am wondering कि it was not that long. We're saying अभी 7 महीने हैं, अभी 6 महीने. Now we're down to Mayank less than 2.5 months, and we're still talking about not locking in. And like you said, Rishabh Pant opens for what, 2 matches in England, gets a 35 odd and fails in the next match. ईशान किशन who was opening fairly regularly in Rahul's absence, उस बंदे को मैच नहीं मिल रहा है. Then out of the blue you see Surya Kumar Yadav. So exactly, you have Deepak Hudas, you have Surya Kumar Yadav. They have done everything to get enough playing time. But is there still not clarity about their role? And like you said, I hope Rahul Dravid has that clarity, because it's going to be very, very awkward for Rohit Sharma, Rahul Dravid, the coaches, the BCI to answer the question कि अगर the Ayers and the Surya Kumars and the Hudas keep scoring runs, but come the Asia Cup, which I agree with you could be the most closest indication. Come that time, does KL Rahul just walk back in? Does Virat Kohli just walk back in? It'll be very, very unfair
Yeah.
on the likes of Huda.
I understand that point that it will be very hard and buy for Huda if Virat Kohli walks at number three. But given the proven pedigree, in my book, Virat Kohli, like even an out of form Virat Kohli should walk back into the playing 11 of India, at least for the next
Okay.
near future that I see, because he has scored runs in Australia. And remember, if the ball
Yes.
will start swinging, you can't just put your front foot across and on the middle stem and start swinging. You just can't do that. When ball starts swinging, you need Virat Kohli. Remember what happened when Sahin Afridi bamboozled KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma and almost knocked India out of the match. Who was there to
Correct.
rescue India? It was Virat Kohli. You need technique. You need player who can who can watch the ball and who can drive the ball. You just don't need people who can smash. It can be unfair on Huda, but this is a game of cricket where the game of unfairness happens. And there have been many cricketers, like I can bring names of Manoj Tiwari, Amol Majumdar. You can name so many players that they
Sure.
were not treated fairly. But you can't help it that the people the player that you're competing with is Virat Kohli. He has pedigree, and his pedigree cannot be overlooked in very short period of time. So Rahul also, however, there are some concerns regarding KL Rahul's approach, not necessarily his technique, because
Sure.
the Rahul that that become indispensable for India. Remember, he was so undroppable for India that he was given a middle order spot at number 5 during 2019 before the World Cup, if I'm
Yes.
not wrong. Why? Because he was in a super form in the IPL 2018. And why was he rated so highly? Because he was scoring at more than 150 strike rate, and he has averaged more than 40. So that is the KL Rahul we want. We have Rohit, we have Kohli, we have KL Rahul. We can't have three batters who bat 1, 2, 3 with the same approach. So there are some concerns regarding what approach KL Rahul will take, in T20, in power
Sure.
play especially. But on pedigree and form, to answer your question specifically, in my book, all three should bat without any competition, in my view.
Okay, okay, fair enough, fair enough. That's a big, big statement. I have a question about that, Mooch. I'll come. I just want to stick on the Virat Kohli topic a bit more. I get it, but this guy, and I think unfairly, Virat Kohli gets a bit more extra criticism because he is Virat Kohli, and like we've said, the guy has set the bar so high. We've talked about कि आजकल अगर विराट कोहली कल जाके 60 मारेंगे, people aren't happy with a 60 or a 70 from Virat Kohli because this guy has phenomenal numbers across formats. But that said, we've debated, many, many players have said, yaar, rest pe jaake, you're not going to bring back that form. You also mentioned it. Keeping in mind everything that you've said here, do you not think that, okay, he'll skip the Zimbabwe series? Because I get it, all the way to Zimbabwe for 3 matches. But I think he should have played this West Indies series because if he is part of your plans, agar Virat Kohli number 3 pe batting karenge at the MCG against Pakistan, then in my book, he should be playing as many, forget ODIs, as many T20s because the ball bat pe aa rahi hai, but ball bat pe aake edge pe ja rahi hai, slip pe. What do you think?
Completely agree, Jamie, that either the three ODIs against Zimbabwe or these at least three of the T20s against West Indies, he should have played. Because remember, Kohli's problem is not about bowling or especially about the class of the bowling. It's more of most of Kohli's problems is of his own doings, that he's chasing ball. And
Yep,
remember,
yep.
if you're away from the game for a lot of months and for a lot of days, you will be eager, because you will be eager to score. You will be eager, you will be itching to get bat on the ball, as Sunil Gavaskar likes to say, that there is an eagerness that he reaches out to
Yep,
ball.
yep.
Why is that happening? Because there's a nervous energy about him, and Kohli does not look stable when he comes. So no, there are many analysts pointing out that whenever he's coming onto the crease, he's not he's not stable. His head is not stable. He's committing too much on the front foot. Why all that is happening? Because he is not playing continuously. Virat Kohli, the run machine that we have been, very familiar of knowing over the last decade, is a very stable man. He gets onto the front foot, he just shifts his weight
Yep.
back. That is not happening, and that will not happening as long as you will keep on choosing these games. And remember, you can say that these are just three games, and going all the way to Zimbabwe for a three game is a lot of effort. But no, remember, the ODI World Cup is not too far away either. The 2023 World Cup is just next month.
Yep.
It's the next year, and that too in India. So there will be huge pressure. And if Kohli does not click and that does not recover, does not get his mojo back for the next World Cup, I'm afraid to say India are in big troubling phase now. So Virat Kohli should have played either these three ODIs against Zimbabwe or at least some three T20s against West Indies to just remain in the groove so that he is not out of touch. He is, as I said in your reply to your first question, that there should be an energy flowing, that you are batting, your front foot is
Absolutely.
going, you're not nervous. So for that, Kohli should be playing, and I hope that this whenever he walks out to the pitch in Asia Cup, that is the end of the Virat Kohli that we are seeing away from the game. That will be the start of Virat Kohli playing continuous cricket till the
Hmm.
T20 World Cup at least.
I hope so, and crores of Indian cricket followers will also hope exactly what you said. Because why? I think why the Virat Kohli? Because chalo, let's. I agree with you. World Cup is next year ODI, but let's focus on T20. Since the 2021 World Cup, and I made some notes here. He's been rested against New Zealand, Sri Lanka,
Hmm.
South Africa, West Indies, and now Zimbabwe. Okay, chalo, that's ODIs, but he's been given rest. He has played Mayank only four T20Is in 2022. In those four games, his average is 20 and the strike rate is 128. So yes, he has reputation, and of course Virat Kohli will go to the World Cup because he is Virat Kohli. But against this constantly being rested, I think this is why a lot of the criticism comes, because in a T20 World Cup year, when every other board is trying to get their best players as much matches, and मैं आपकी बात से सहमत हूं, there is a bio bubble that really wreaked havoc mentally and physically on every single athlete for the better part of 2 years. So I get that, but it's Virat Kohli we're talking about. Virat Kohli ko leke, I'm going to bring up another very very important player here on our screens for our viewers and for you, Rohit Sharma. I big fan of him, big fan of Virat Kohli, but I want to tell you something also here. He since he was named captain, he's only played in 4 of 6 series that India have played. 10 matches, 246 runs, average 24, strike rate 33, just 150. Why is nobody as vocally critical about him, you think? Everyone's after Virat Kohli. इसके बारे में लोग इतना ज्यादा क्यों नहीं बात कर रहे? Because he's as a successful IPL franchise, maybe?
Maybe IPL can be a bias factor in not calling out Rohit Sharma's form, but why
I
he
think
gets
so.
away with lack of scores is that he is an opener, and more than Kohli, he has been known for a big six hitter. So what Rohit does is
Okay,
on his
okay.
good days, even if he's not scoring say 50 or 60, in the last game, what happened? Like, let's say if he would not have scored those 60 runs in the first or second over, you are just jumping out of your crease and hitting the ball. So that gets imprinted in a fan's vision that okay, Rohit is
Mhm.
scoring, he's attacking the bowler. So narrative takes the precedence over the facts and the figures that you are quoting. So that's why he does not get called out for his lack of runs. But also
Mm.
talking about not playing more than four T20Is since he has been appointed captain. To be very frank, Jamie, it's just a makeshift option that Rohit Sharma is the captain in all the three formats, and I don't see him
Very true.
continuing at least in the shortest format after the completion of T20. I don't see Rohit Sharma with the body that he has, the injuries that he has suffered in the last few years. I don't see him going and at least leading. And remember, Mumbai Indians leading Mumbai Indians is a hell tougher task than leading a T20 in Indian side, because moreover Indian T20
Absolutely.
side is almost a settled unit, because you have players coming from IPL with experience of IPL, so you don't have to guide every one of them. But leading an IPL side, it takes a mental toll. Remember which side Virat Kohli relinquished first. It was captaincy of RCB, because that was the most
Correct?
stressful job that he had. So I don't see Rohit Sharma going ahead as a leader of India's T20 after this T20 World Cup. But
Yeah.
on the contrary, I would also like to highlight here that yes, I know that they have played just four games, so Rahul has missed out. but they have been proven match winners. It's not that they are not playing T20s. They have played T20 for fun for decades. They have been, stalwarts of the IPL. I understand that the
Yep.
format and the T20 World Cup is a different kettle of fish, because had the IPL performance translated into the performance of the Indian batsmen, India would have won many World Cup. But remember, we have not been able to perform very good at the in T20 World Cup level after 2007. So there is a difference, but on
Yep.
pedigree, you just can't ignore pedigree just for the basis of facts. Facts don't tell you a complete picture, as they say.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Moving on to KL Rahul. Now he's not played a single T20I for India this year, and now we're on August 1st. Yes, as usual, KL Rahul had a good IPL personally. I think we've seen the last kitna 4-5 saal se he finishes in the top three or top five. I think top three, in fact, run getters. But again, he's not played here. I get your point, but let's say this mystery. I mean, the fact that I think KL Rahul had to put a social media post out to say, "Ke bhai, nahi, I'm actually injured. Here it is." That for me was a very, very big statement, because in these times, everyone is second guessing you. This guy, Mayank, to my mind, is the most natural of that one era, not era, but that a few years younger than Kohli and Rohit Sharma. This guy has every talent. I think when it comes to one days, they're wasting him batting and opening. He should be batting at five in one days, because his average and strike rate there is fantastic. One day, may no doubt his best fit to my mind is as an opener, but it's the same thing. You mentioned pedigree, you mentioned he's been playing for years, but let's say he misses the next two series. If he goes into the Asia Cup even dicey, even 80%, do you want a Rahul which is not 110% going to the World Cup? I don't.
No.
It's I might get some hate for this, but if he's not played enough matches, इस बंदे का वर्ल्ड कप जाना मेरे हिसाब से नहीं बनता.
हाँ जमी, मैं भी अग्री करता हूँ आपके बात से, बिकॉज ऑफ ऑल द थ्री प्लेयर्स दैट वी आर डिस्कसिंग, राहुल इज द मोस्ट कंसर्निंग पॉइंट फॉर मी, बिकॉज राहुल इज मोस्ट is the most touch player among all these three. Because
Correct,
remember
correct.
remember the bad phase that Rahul was having, and why I'm going back to the past, because only then we can reflect onto the credentials and the mental
Definitely,
mental
definitely.
strength of a player, that you can find that okay, this player has the capability and he has pulled it off. So in the past as well. So when Rahul was in bad form during 2018 phase, the runs were not coming off him, and he was getting bowled. He was getting caught in the slips across formats. So he was struggling very badly. So that is the concern I have with Rahul. That Rahul, out of Kohli and Rohit, Rahul is the batsman who needs to get back in touch. He needs rhythm more than the other two. So if he is not walking out to bat on the first game, in the first game in the Asia Cup, I think Rahul is in a big danger of missing out from that squad from the World Cup. That is a big thing that I'm saying here. I know, and I'm conceding that I might get hate and say some trolling from Rahul's fans on Twitter,
ठीक.
but that's the way I see it. If Rahul is not 100% fit and he is not walking out to open the innings with Rohit Sharma in Asia Cup, I think his days are numbered as far as his preparation for the T20 World Cup is concerned.
It's a valid point, Mayank, and I'm on the same page with you. Just going back, because I know you watched these T20s the last few weeks very, very closely. We saw, at least I think, in England, the fact that 4 or 5 batsmen were getting much faster, 28, 32, 35. There were no big 50s, but Indian team was putting up match winning totals consistently with a much visible faster approach. We saw Pant open, we saw Surya open. Keeping in mind what KL Rahul said, I think 2 साल पहले की बात है कि strike rates are overrated. Does that approach, do you think it fits into the new Rohit Sharma, Rahul Dravid, with a very visible different approach? Ke yaar, jaake jaldi maro. Do you think he has it in him to bring about that change? Because unfairly or fairly, Joe Kaho, that's been leveled at him for the last 4 years in the IPL, where he's been the best run scorer.
Well, to counter what Rahul said about strike rate, I think orange cap and number of runs that you have scored, that those stats are overrated, not the strike rate. Because
Well said,
remember,
well said.
yeah, if you will consider that the number of scores that Indian team, as you rightly pointed out in the England series, what was happening there? If there was one striking statement that spoke volume about what Indian team wants to look like going ahead in the T20, those shots were Virat Kohli. So if man of that that credential, and who has that capability that he can turn it on anytime, who has a
Yep.
proven track record of upping the ante in the last few overs. If he has changed his approach so dramatically that he is trying to hit six or four from the first ball, I don't think Rahul needs any second invitation to understand what Rohit and Rahul demands from him. So the
Well
message
said.
is very clear for KL Rahul: either their way, or you will have to take a back seat and let likes of Rishabh Pant to open and get bang bang from the first ball. So Rahul will have to take this approach. There is no other way around from that. Rahul Dravid might sound very classy or might sound very calm in the press conferences, but as I have tracked his career and have seen him, I don't see there are many ruthless men than Rahul Dravid in Indian cricket. Remember, he called his batsman back when Sachin Tendulkar was at 194.
Correct, correct,
So
correct.
that speaks volume of his ruthlessness. So I don't think Rahul will be spared from that either.
Very, very well said. Because yes, you're right. Sometimes the volume of runs or the orange cap, purple cap, it does not necessarily add up if you're not buying into the bigger team's philosophy. And the bigger team we all know is the Indian cricket team. In fact, I've been talking to a few journalists offline as well, and a few of them have said, yeah, they actually genuinely are worried about how will KL Rahul manage to come back if he does not play in the next, let's say, 2.5, 3 weeks, because the Asia Cup, to my mind, and I think you also agree, Asia Cup will be the closest idea, the closest picture we get to वो पाकिस्तान मैच के अगेंस्ट कौन सा 11 होने वाला है. Keeping in mind, let's just wrap up before we move on to आज का जो मैच हो रहा है. Three of the most important players, not without coincidence, they bat 1, 2, 3. Rohit Sharma, KL Rahul, Virat Kohli. In a perfect world, these three, Mayank, like you said, these three should and would be the top three. But given all that's going around them, if you had to pick an alternate top three as an Indian cricket fan for that first match, कौन होते वो तीन players?
So I would have taken punt on Samson,
Okay,
Rishabh Pant, and Surya Kumar Yadav. If these three are
you're
not
batting
available,
Surya Yadav at three. You're saying?
yeah, at three, and I
Okay,
will
okay.
take a risk with Samson and Pant, because once you don't have Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli and Rahul, then you might as well give it everything and risk losing everything rather than being defensive about it. Because these three players, as you said, that the best players are the one, two, three. They are not
Yep.
only our three top three players, they are also our run aggregators, as they like to say. People and analysts say that they are aggregators who will hit a boundary, then they'll take a single, double. So if I will not have them, then I'll have go all out from ball, go attack every ball. The Ian Morgan method of playing white ball cricket.
Hmm. Interesting that you've gone for Sanju Samson, because I think, I mean, Samson ki baat kare, we all know the guy, the level of his talent, but that inconsistency in T20s is perhaps why he doesn't get enough playing time. I'm very glad to see that recently he's been getting that chance because of absence by KL Rahul. But this guy here on our screen, if you know, and our fans as well, जो यहाँ हमारे viewers जो यहाँ देख रहे हैं show को, at the start of the year, Mayank, Jan, Feb, March, before the IPL, this guy could not put a wrong foot across formats. He was blazing runs in Test. He got that 92 on day one in Bengaluru. He was scoring 60s and 70s against West Indies and Sri Lanka. But he was batting at a place that was vacated because Virat Kohli nahi the. To my mind, and I want to see whether you agree, श्रेयस अय्यर का डायरेक्ट कंपटीशन था सूर्य कुमार यादव इन द मिडिल ऑर्डर, बिकॉज विराट कोहली वाज
Right.
देयर, केएल राहुल दैट टाइम वाज रेस्टेड. अब जो ये उतार चढ़ाव हम लोग देख रहे हैं, वी सीन Deepak Huda comes in, bats at 3, gets 100, did not play the last match against West Indies. Surya Kumar Yadav has done brilliantly at 4-5, उससे opening करवाया था. In all this, where do you see this guy on your screen, जो literally 4 महीने पहले was perhaps the replacement for Virat Kohli, अब मुश्किल है, because like you said, you would pick Surya Kumar Yadav number 3.
Well, 4 months is a lot of time in Indian cricket, at least at this point of time, with this wider pool of cricketers. Because remember, if you'll prepare a list of players who have been who have been treated
Ah,
unfairly after scoring, who have not been given chance, if we are talking about that Huda should deserve, and that it will be very unfair of him, then in that breath we'll also have to take an Shreyas Iyengar's name, and his name will come at the top. That he has been treated unfairly. That he was touted as number 4 for India, and then sitting on the
no
sidelines, and
realization.
in my book, going ahead in T20 in near future, I don't see a place for him in a full strength Indian team. I don't see a place for Shreyas Iyer, and that's unfair, for him. But that has been the
Sure.
case. Again, I'm saying that because the player that there's a term called the competence that you bring to a side, right? That the role clarity that I'm always talking about. So Shreyas Iyer is a player more in the mold of Kohli or a Rohit Sharma, that he can hit big sixes against spinners, but against pace, his struggles are world famous. We all
That's
know,
a fact. Yep.
everyone who watched Shreyas Iyer for 2 or 3 games, who watch him bat against anyone. If anyone can be bounced out by James Anderson in a test match, you have problems against pace, right? So everyone knows what Ayer's struggle is. So on that point, so the player who bring competency that Indian team require after the top three of Rohit, Rahul, and Kohli, Ayer does not give that thing to Rahul Dravid led team management. After top three, which is who are aggregators, we need players like Surya Kumar Yadav, who are very up on their feet, who are jumping, who are going on the offside to flick the baller towards the fine leg, who are going
Range. Yeah.
so Iyer does not give you that range, and Iyer is more, in mold of Kohli or Rohit Sharma. So after the top three, we need players who have a wider range, who can hit bowlers over the offside, away on the over the point, and also over the leg side, over the fine leg, and in space of two balls. It's not that
Yep.
one you can hit. So you should have a wider range, and Iyer does not provide that. So as of now, in my book, Iyer does not deserve a place in India's full strength side. And remember, whatever is happening, this team combination and experiments that are happening in this England series that happened, and also in the West Indies ongoing West Indies series. I think this is competition for the 13th, 14th, and 15th and 16th spot, in my view.
Okay.
First 11, and for that matter even first 12th, have been decided, I think, by the team management. And that's why I think Kohli, there is not so many words about Kohli being rested, because they know what Kohli brings to the table, right? They know what Rohit brings to the table. So in my book, Iyer does not deserve a place on the basis of the team combination. Not that he is not a good batsman, he's a great batsman,
Sure. I get it. I get it.
but he does not deserve a place basis of the pool of the players that India presently have.
I have to agree because I was quite surprised that Deepak Huda, yes, you can say it's against Ireland, but that range of which you're talking, I saw a lot of that range in Deepak Huda in the brief innings we've seen, because he may not have the flexibility of a Sky to walk across and do it, but he at least tries. So I was very surprised that these three number pe he did not come, because you opened with Suryakumar Yadav, fair enough, but you did not him. You went for him, and I think the fact that he didn't score runs underlines. I think, and I hope that Deepak Huda gets more chances in this series, because I think a couple more good scores, 40, 45 from him, and he should be on the flight to Australia. Keeping in
That was
mind,
my concern as well.
huh, exactly, because
That
he's not done anything wrong, na? So he's a young player, and striker ki baat
And
kare.
you need coherence for a player to prosper, for a player to grow. Huda
Correct.
should be given that longer rope, that he
Correct.
could feel that, okay, number three or four place is mine. I can be here.
Yep.
I belong to this level. You give this breeding ground for players. On that, I did not understand why Iyer batted at number three.
Absolutely. Let's come to the bowlers before we run out of time. We always talk about batsmen on the show. बहुत बार. This guy on our screen, Ravi Vishnoy, I'm a big fan of him. I'm also a big fan of Kuldeep Yadav. I thought perhaps Kuldeep would get the nod, but he did the job. I think he came for the 11th or 12th over, but he got wickets, with the first ball. Keeping in
Right.
mind, he's probably, like you said, he's probably pata nahi 14 15 pe hoga ye. But if this boy grabs the most of his chances, I think he could also do enough to get that nod to Australia. I'll tell you why, because I don't see Akshar and Jadeja. We don't need two left arm spinners jinki bowling itni khas nahi chal rahi in Australia. We have Chahal was criminally overlooked for the last World Cup T20. He's going to go there, but that second wrist spinner ki zarorat hai. I've got a feeling he might knock off Kuldeep, because इसमें एक्स्ट्रा कुछ है बिश्नोई में.
Totally agree, and he has proven that in IPL. And if India have to select two wrist spinner, yes, Vishnu has a fair chance to make it. Kuldeep, I don't think he will be, on that plane to Australia, and that will be clear on 8th of August. So Vishnu has a
Yep.
reckoning, but in terms of playing in the first playing 11, I don't see that happening until unless the pitch is, the team management finds the pitch is very conducive to spin bowling. Because only if India are, playing with three spinners, that a Vishnoi or even a Ravichandran Ashwin finds a place. I don't
Ashwin
see them
also.
playing in a. I don't find either Bisnoi or Ravichandran Ashwin playing in a two spinner attack, because Jadeja will play for sure, and then Yuzvendra Chahal will play because the way he has been bowling in the last few months. Remember
Correct.
that again on the point that players being treated unfairly. Yuzvendra Chahal was dropped from the squad for the last World Cup.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I don't think Chahal will be overlooked for at least in T20 World Cup, because he has bowled well against Australia in that 2018-19 series. If I'm not clearly out of track here, he picked some 6 wickets for some 25 runs in an ODI against
He did. He
Australia.
did. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
He did.
yeah, so on bigger grounds, India playing on MCG, in SCG, and at Perth in first three matches. So those big
Yep.
boundaries, I think Chal should play. And if Chal will play and India won't find a room for a third spinner, I don't think either of them playing.
Yep. Yeah, well said. One last point, because this guy on our screen, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, about a year ago, I was saying, कि यार इससे आगे बढ़ो. We've not seen him play. He's injury prone, but I'm so happy that this guy's come back so well. You know, he got that 4 for 13 against South Africa. What 6 5 6 weeks ago. Keeping in mind, his age and he's a bit injury prone. He is shaping up to be a very important player for the World Cup. As an Indian fan, how heartening has his return been over the last 8 9 months?
Well, it's absolutely, it's what to say. It's absolutely fantastic for India's chances, because till the South Africa series, where he struggled in the ODI series against South Africa in
Yep,
last year,
yep.
at the start of this year. So it was almost, it was a pairing if that Bhuvneshwar Kumar of the old will never come back. That seam position, straight towards, slanted towards slip for the ball to, swing away, and then towards one coming back in. So at least even I believe that, I think we have, we might have seen the end of the best of Bhuvneshwar Kumar, but now see how he has bounced back. And remember what happened when Bhuvneshwar Kumar was not, on a good scoring, good bowling rhythm. Deepak Chahar got injured, so
Yep, yep, yep.
it was a blessings in disguise. I should not be saying that openly, but it was sort of a blessings in
A
disguise, because
fact, a fact.
remember, because Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Deepak Char are, like for like replacement. Both swing the ball, both can bowl, 2 3 overs at the start and then 1 over in the end or in the middle overs. So because, even when he was struggling, Deepak Chahar was not there to, lock in his spot. And once he's back with the rhythm, I don't think India can look beyond Bhuvneshwar Kumar with the new ball. So it's very heartening to see that he has come back to his best and he's swinging the ball. That's the most important part, because we need a genuine swing bowler. Because Kookaburra ball, it does not swing for very long, and then it will be only 2 or 3 overs, or maybe hardly for 5 overs. And India should extract as much as swing as possible in the air in Australia. So Bhuvneshwar Kumar is very important for India's chances.
Absolutely. And let's hope that if he has one final hurrah, it is this T20 World Cup. We're running out of time. Mayank, last question. Give me a prediction. आज का मैच क्या होगा?
I think if India will win the toss, I think they should chase, because
Okay.
yeah, because it will allow their batsmen, and if the batsmen, bowlers do not have a great game like the last one, they might
Hmm.
be put under pressure. Because remember one trend that was emerging about India's batting, that they were struggling against left arm spinner, for that matter, in the middle overs. And Akil Hussain has almost tied them down in the last game as
Yep,
well. They were
yep.
not scoring a lot of runs. And remember, Akil Hussain struggled, troubled them in the ODIs as well. So I want to see that. I told you at the start of the show that I want to have answers of some questions that I have in my mind, and for that I want India to chase if they win the
Chase.
toss. Otherwise, but on the face of it, on paper, I don't see much competition, given the depth of the side and the form that India is in.
Yeah. Absolutely. Looks like 2-0. I thought said last week, I think it'll be 5-0 or 4-1. We've run out of time. Mayank Kumar, thank you so much for your time. I had a feeling this was going to be a very fun show, and it has been. So appreciate your taking our time.
Likewise, Jimmy. Likewise, pleasure is all mine.
Thank you so much. And you enjoy your week. And thank you to all our viewers who stuck around and posted comments and shared hearts and likes and all the good stuff. Absolute pleasure, Mayank. Take care, everyone. We'll see you again sometime.
Likewise, Jimmy. Thank you.